My name is Jamie Youngson, Senior Strength and Conditioning Coach at the Australian Institute of Sport. My role has been to look after the women's programme at the AIS, as well as supporting the senior A team in their tours in 2011 last year and this year leading into the Olympics in Italy. I came to Australia in 2004, initially always with an intrigue for the passion of sport. I always had an intrigue for getting as far away from the UK as possible. So I looked at New Zealand and I thought, well, what's the next? I was invited to Australia in 2004. Immediately started to canvass the sporting community for opportunities, and it stemmed from there. My philosophy is quite simple. It's about developing an athlete. And what I mean by that is about developing the athletic requirements for the sport and the individual. So, for a sport, you get a profile of sport, and is it an explosive sport, short duration? Is it, we talk about open skill sport like rugby, soccer, closed skill sport as in swimming or rowing, and then therefore the needs of that sport. So, we address the needs that are required from a movement standpoint, as well as from perhaps a neuromuscular standpoint, so is it explosive or not, as well as the metabolic needs, and we filter that into the programme as well. I've looked after a wide range of sports, open skill sports, field sports and court sports, considered open skill. So I've worked with basketball, hockey, soccer, rugby, and I've also worked in the institute environment, swimming, shooting. I've worked with soccer as well as obviously now rowing. I suppose commitment to strength and power training is one. That's the similarity in terms of what they do. In terms of how I apply as a coach, I apply the same model of strength and power training primarily, and I think we use techniques whereby core lifts that give the greatest return for strength and power, and that being power cleans, full squat cleans, power snatch, full squat snatch, and their variants and part lifts of that to help improve that. And they're probably the most pertinent to rowing because they have the same push-pull action for rowing. And then obviously if you take rugby for example, we use them for probably more closely related to front rowers, their capacity to be able to get into deep compressive positions in the scrum, as well as in general across the teams, the nature of contact, and the need to get into deep compressive positions. In terms of movement patterning, that's as far as it goes. In terms of application of training, that's probably as far as it goes, because in rugby we have more involvement with developing movement mechanics on the field, as well as how to run fast, how to change direction, and then we have a greater dovetailing within skill sessions and how that's applied as well. It's quite simple actually. It's probably more to do with the culture and it's the cultural values and probably formalities, and what I mean by that is in the UK it's more formal. Everything is obviously bound within the class system that's delivered in sport, but it's probably there's a greater rigour of scientific delivery in the UK. I think it's very much dependent on the practitioner here in Australia. Things are more informal, but nevertheless, it doesn't mean that the quality of output is any less. It just may mean that you're not held as accountable here in Australia for your actions. I wouldn't say powerlifting. I'd say the techniques are very much about the capacity of the athlete. You've got to find out what their strengths and limitations are, structurally and functionally, and you've got to incorporate other services to help you understand that. Physiotherapy, find out whether there are any weaknesses, any past injuries that may affect that. So then you tailor your exercises around what the athlete's able to achieve. If you've got a healthy athlete, perhaps they can do deadlifting for rowing, because you have to come from deep compressive positions. It's a foundation for push-pull, and that precedes power cleans or power snatches, as mentioned before, jumping techniques, pulling techniques, etc. But I think the reality is, you've got to prescribe against the athlete who's standing in front of you, and so therefore you may have to adjust and modify what you do.